So we're about to present a recreation of a typical magistrate court here in Lexington. Magistrate court was the lowest tier of the trial court in the provincial system in Massachusetts. Is that right, Mr. Adams?
Fair enough.
Okay. Now, the county magistrate, who was appointed by the royal government, would travel to each town periodically and hear civil cases, and then would decide each case and either exonerate or convict and sentence the accused. When we begin, the year is 1773, so realize we are unaware of anything that will come after that year. So no independency, no George Washington, no April 19th, we don't know about it. Though much is transpiring in the colony, we are loyal subjects in 1773 of King George. So just bear that in mind. Now we encourage you all to participate. There are prepared witness statements being distributed for those who would like to read them. And when the magistrate asks for witness testimony, so feel free to participate, please. And also, don't feel that you're limited by what's on the card. If you've got something that you'd like to say, this could get interesting. Going along with the scenario, feel free. It's a lot of fun. There's no wrong answers. We just may look at you rather funny. So anyway, thank you all, and I hope you all enjoy the long arm of the law.
All be upstanding. Lisa? Russell? This meeting will now come to order. Magistrate Dr. Charles Russell presiding. God save the King.
God save the King.
Pray be seated. Well, good afternoon. How are things with you?
Everything is fine, sir. We are all in good health. The family is all excellent.
That's good to know, because of your earlier tribulations.
Yes, sir.
Now, do tell us what's on the docket this afternoon.
Your Honor, we have but a single case for you to adjust this evening. When you're ready, I will ask the constable to bring the defendant forth for your examination, ruling, and, if appropriate, sentencing.
Very well. Pray proceed.
Your Honor, the miscreant, the defendant, is the widow Mary Brooks, which I'm sure you're familiar with, sir. A saucy wench who is charged with 3 serious violations of the King's laws. The first, she is accused of night walking, that is, being out after the established and customary curfews, violating Sabbath law by being out unescorted on a Sunday, and finally, of swearing, thereby taking the Lord's name in vain. I warn you, sir, she has no shame. Her husband is deceased. It seems that now, with him being deceased, there is no one able to restrain this woman. Sir, you have my duty to sympathy.
Constable, pray bring forth this woman.
Yes, sir. Widow Brooks,
I'm coming.
this way.
I know the way.
Mind your tongue, woman. Stand forth in front of the magistrate.
Mary Brooks, you will respect this court. You are Mary Brooks, relict of this parish, are you not?
Did you not call my name? Did I not come down
Very
the way?
well, Mary Brooks. Guard your tongue. I do believe you have been before this court before. We are somewhat familiar, are we not?
Yes, we are.
As are the magistrates of neighboring towns.
Yes.
Mary Brooks, what is your age?
A lady doesn't tell her age.
Madam,
Answer the question.
29.
29. Very well. And you are a resident of this town, are you not?
Would I be here if I wasn't a resident? Yes, I'm a resident. You know I'm a resident of this town.
You have a domicile, you have a house, you have a place.
Yes.
Very well. curfew on Saturday evening, and I believe using foul language.
I did not, and I was out, and I suppose that people have not heard a woman say her prayers on her walk home.
Constable Parks, you have something to add to this matter, some matters of evidence.
I do, sir, indeed. I was out on my rounds, and I spied Mary Brooks skulking in some bushes.
Skulking? No, that's not skulking. You know I wasn't skulking.
I will say this,
How
sir.
would you skulk in these days?
Sir,
What time of night?
it was well after curfew, sir. She claimed it was a call of nature, but I know she was skulking to avoid me, sir.
I was not skulking. I was picking herbs. We all know that I use them.
Mary Brooks,
You
you
all
recognize, you know Mr. Parks, who has been for well over a decade the constable of this town. You are familiar with him, are you not?
You couldn't miss him.
I'm glad you recognize his authority because you see his staff as being the constable of this town. And as a man of some stature who deserves respect, madam.
Sir, she has defied this staff many times.
And yourself, no doubt.
I would agree with that, sir.
Yes. Tell me more, Constable, about the happenings.
Well, at that point, sir...
This was Saturday evening last, was it?
It was, sir. It was.
I have every right to be out.
Hold your tongue 1 second until we hear what the constable has.
She claimed, sir, that she had been tending for her ill sister.
I
Yes.
had been tending for my sister.
And yet she had no male acquaintance, no friend, no brother to escort her.
Was this
Did you
true?
miss
were
the
without-
widow part of the widow, Mary Brooks?
Nonetheless, you were out after curfew, Mary Brooks. Do you admit so?
Well, who would be walking with me? Would you come and attend to me?
I think not.
Would you have brought me home, sir?
No, madam.
Anyone here, please?
Mary Brooks, hold your tongue.
Oh,
Constable, continue with your testimony.
At that point, sir, she did curse me, using language that I would not speak in public myself. I found it quite offensive, sir,
Yes.
and that is what prompted the original charge. There have been other charges as well, but that, the cursing, sir, was perhaps the most profane.
Yes. Did she, on you accosting her, did she come peaceably, or did she lay her hands on you, Constable?
Sir, I have never known this woman to come peacefully.
Mary Brooks, what do you have to say to this matter? You are out and about Saturday night, after curfew, unaccompanied. Pray explain.
well, my sister was ill. You heard him say it yourself. My sister was ill, and what was I going to do? Illness does not know the time of day, and I had no escort. We just went through this. Who's listening here?
Mary Brooks, are you aware of the law on this?
I am aware of the law.
Then you are flouting the law, madam.
To save my sister's life?
Tell us more about your sister. She was near death, was she?
Not exactly. But she was very ill.
Where does she live?
Very near to the tavern.
Which tavern is this, Mary Brooks?
Well, I can't.
It depends on which day it is, sir.
Had you, Mr. Parks, any knowledge of her being distempered with drink in addition?
I was not.
I do not, sir.
So she
I would not take that upon myself. At this occasion,
maybe you did not get that close to her.
I try not to, sir.
Yes. We will give you the benefit of the doubt, but I'm sure we could investigate and find out if you were in a tavern that evening, unaccompanied, no doubt. Very well. And you were making your way to your sister's house, which is less than a league
from my sister's home.
You had been there earlier in the day.
And it got late, sir.
So, Is her house commodious? Does it have room for you to lie down and spend the night, which surely would have been a wise course?
No, I needed to get home. I have other people that I need to tend to,
Yes.
and they need to know where to find me, sir.
Very well. What about the using of foul language, Mary Brooks?
I do no such thing.
Constable, do you have, Mr. Clark, do you have any knowledge of past knowledge? Do we have records? Has she been warned out of other towns?
Yes, Dr. Russ, she's been warned out of monotony,
Yes.
and she's also been warned out of Concord.
Do we have any records of her using profane language?
No, I have nothing here, but I beg to...
You have knowledge.
Well, one question, Your Honor. If in fact, her sister was ill, why would you not call sir as the resident physician of the area?
Well, indeed, sometimes people do not have the wherewithal for the shilling or trifling fee that I charge. Do we have any other witnesses or characters who would like to...
Please, speak on my behalf.
Or against the widow?
Please.
Brooks? Sir.
Your Honor, I'm from Concord. I've heard that woman cursing would make a dock worker in Boston blush.
Hey, your name, sir?
I make note of it.
Squire Hutchins.
That was not helpful at all. Someone, please,
Anyone
speak on my
else?
behalf. See,
Madam,
there are plenty of
Madam,
people.
control yourself.
Right. The woman over there.
In the spring, Mary Brooks did create a decoction which helped my daughter with fever. I believe she is a very accomplished herbalist.
Very well.
There you
Thank
have
you.
it.
Thank
That
you.
was very nice.
Thank you. Are you in the habit, Mary Brooks, of traveling around the town, ministering to sick people?
Yes, I am.
And they meet at taverns.
I'm sorry, to be recognized by the magistrate.
Right.
But once while I was at the meeting house on Sabbath, I looked out the window and I saw Mary Brooks, and she was laughing and displaying frivolity. She actually
Outside the meeting house?
outside the meeting house, and she seemed to make a comment about Constable Parks and his staff being somewhat short. Scandalous.
Madam,
Indeed, scandalous. Do we have any others who would like to provide a character?
James Ingram from Acton. I recall hearing Mary Brooks verbally accosting the constable of the meeting. The poor man seemed afeared for his life.
Yes.
As he should be.
Mary Brooks, stand fast. Sir.
Sir, last year Mary Brooks brought me some herbal preparations which I believe cured my aunt. However, when I asked where she had obtained the herbs, she was evasive and told me not to ask that question again.
No, however, the first part, that was the part. I cured your aunt.
Very well. Constable, yes, did she not cure her husband?
Yes, there was some rather unusual circumstances. We never really discovered truly of what he passed away from.
My dear husband, how dare you?
Maybe it was shame.
sir, Dr. Russell, I believe you have another person.
Very well, madam.
Bear witness on.
Lincoln, I understand that this woman has a cunning knowledge of herbs
There,
that could indeed have helped her sister get well from distemper,
I told you.
though folks in these parts do say that she may have used herbs to poison her late husband.
What?
Straighten this. There we have that again.
Yes, sir.
Constable, do you have anything further to add on this?
Nothing
matter?
further, sir. I think the behavior has spoken for itself.
Yes, indeed. Mr. Clark, have you anything further? Any knowledge of this case that
No,
you may
sir.
add?
No, none except that I've now added additional information, and I'm sure we will be seeing her again.
Fine. Thank you.
Sir?
Mary, yes? Sir,
An observation from a simple man, sir.
a simple man. Your name?
John Adams.
John Evans.
Much of the testimony we have heard previously is entirely irrelevant to this case and must be removed as hearsay. However, there does seem to be a discrepancy. Mrs. Brooks informed the court that she was in the bushes searching for herbs. However, the constable gives us neither his testimony that he investigated the herbs nor found any herbs upon her. Now, I would submit that she was in fact in the bushes searching for herbs, and that the constable did not perform his function in proving to this court that she was doing otherwise. I would also propose to the court that we should look at Mrs. Brooks and the constable to determine who should be more in fear, one from the other. Mrs. Brooks is a small, not elderly woman, and the constable is a large, strapping man. Now, this does not excuse her language. However, who should be more in fear, one from the other? Should the constable be in fear of Mrs. Brooks, or Mrs. Brooks in fear of the constable, especially when out in the evening?
You raise an interesting point, sir,
May I respond when you finish?
certainly, about power, indeed. Of the larger power and the lesser power, and who should be in control. However, in this court, and in my court, sir, Constable Parks is well known to this court as a pillar of the town, and I certainly take his evidence very seriously, as he has done yeoman service. Mr. Parks, if you care to add.
I do, sir. At no time when I did question Mary Brooks did she mention that she was searching for herbs that night. So I had no need to question her further.
Says
She
you.
never mentioned that to me.
Did.
And sir, in terms of power, I am the authority, sir. Not the power, the authority. I try to deal with all of the people here within my constabulary with my authority, sir. I use no power beyond that.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. I think your character shines through. Mary Brooks, you have been brought before this court before. You have been warned out of neighboring towns. You have used foul language. You have certainly been out after curfew, whether or not with it reason, and you have been alone. Mary Brooks, you will be sentenced to be confined next weekend from Saturday sundown to sunrise. And you have your choice of paying 2 shillings to this court, of knitting mittens for the poor, or of holy stoning the floor of the meeting house.
Oh, mittens.
You take your own choice, Mary Brooks. The 2 shillings, the mittens, or the holy stoning.
I will pay the fine.
Very well.
Here?
Yes, indeed.
Again?
Yes, again, indeed. Thank you, Mary Brooks. Take your place over here.
Madam,
And Mr. Clerk, will you put together a writ to
I
that
have
effect?
it already good for you.
Excellent. Would you care to read it?
Yes, sir. Lexington, 1773. Be it remembered that on the 7th day of January, in the 13th year of His Majesty's reign, that Mary Brooks, widow in the county of Middlesex, was convicted of profane swearing, violating the Sabbath, violating curfew. Given under my hand and sealed, Dr. Charles Russell. Sir, for your signature.
Constable, you may remove the plaintiff.
this way.
I'll have you know the prices
This
for
way.
herbs has just gone up to pay for that.
Be gone.
You
Be
too?
gone, Mary Brooks. Be gone.
We have no more cases?
No, Your Honor.
Very well. Constable, then I shall retire.
All be upstanding. This meeting is now adjourned. God save the king.
God save the king.